Welcome to Key Talking Points.
The podcast that makes learning effortless.
No fluff, no jargon, just clear, engaging explanations.
We break down complex topics so you don't have to.
Let's get straight to the point.
Visit keytalkingpoints.com for more.
So here's the situation. President Trump has proposed a 200% tariff, yes, 200, on European wines, champagne, and spirits. And this is all because the European Union announced a 50% tariff on American whiskey, which is set to kick in on April 1st. It's a classic trade dispute escalating into, well, what looks like a full-blown tariff war.
Oof, that's some serious escalation.
It really is, and it all stems from the steel and aluminum tariffs the US imposed earlier. The EU sees this whiskey tariff as their way of levelling the playing field. They're targeting industries that, let's be honest, have a big cultural and economic impact in America, like whiskey exports.
Right, hitting where it hurts the most, huh?
Exactly. Now, Trump being Trump, he's not sitting back quietly. He took to social media saying that if the EU doesn't back down immediately, he'll impose this massive 200% tariff. His words, the move would be great for American wine and champagne businesses. But, it's not that simple.
Not at all. I mean, tariffs like these ripple through industries. They're not just slapping taxes. They're disrupting entire supply chains, right?
Right, and this is where it gets tricky. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen responded, saying the EU doesn't believe in tariffs as a solution. She even called them taxes, bad for consumers and businesses alike.
But she's still standing firm, yeah?
She is. While she's open to negotiation, she emphasised that the EU will defend its interests. So it's a bit of a standoff right now. Both sides recognise the damage tariffs can do, but neither wants to appear weak by giving in first.
Classic stalemate.
And the impact if this goes forward, it might just be enormous, not just for the businesses trading across borders, but, for obvious reasons, for consumers as well. Tariffs like these can really hurt spending habits, and even affordability for everyday buyers.
And that's where the ripple effect on consumers becomes evident. Think about Prosecco. A bottle that might cost $15 today could skyrocket to $45 if these tariffs come into play. That's just one example of how these measures can dramatically alter spending habits and reshape what people can afford.
No kidding. 3 times the price? That's outrageous. Most people are just going to stop buying it altogether, don't you think?
Exactly. And that's where you start to see industries contracting, not just in Europe, but here too. Less demand for imported Prosecco means distributors and retailers will suffer. It's not just price hikes. It's a disruption to how businesses operate daily.
So it's not just about sipping Prosecco at brunch, it's like a domino effect through the entire market.
Absolutely. Now, consider the French wine and spirits industry. We're talking about a €4 billion export market when it comes to the United States alone. With a 200% tariff, that's just catastrophic. Their exports could grind to a complete halt.
Oh, wow. So no more Bordeaux or Champagne for the US market. And what happens in France?
Well, they've already sounded the alarm. Gabriel Picard of the French Federation of Exporters of Wines and Spirits called the tariffs a hammer blow. He says their products would completely disappear from American shelves. That's the level of devastation we're looking at.
Yikes. And there's the cultural side too, isn't there?
Right. Picture a British family celebrating with a champagne toast. Suddenly, that bottle triples in price. Traditions that have cultural meaning begin to, they start to shift or disappear. It's more than economics. It's about access, customs, and identity.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's not just dollars and cents. It's like these tariffs mess with the stuff that connects us globally and culturally.
Exactly. And it's this cultural and emotional layer that could make the fallout from these tariffs even messier. Businesses, families, and traditions, everything gets drawn into this economic crossfire.
Thinking about all that interconnected fallout we just covered, let's take a step back and look at the broader picture. How this tariff war ripples through the entire economic ecosystem. Because, this isn't just about Prosecco or bourbon prices skyrocketing. It's much, much bigger than that.
Yeah, we're talking about jobs here, right? This kind of thing hits the workforce too, doesn't it?
Exactly. And actually, the whiskey producers in the US are a prime example. Back in 2018, we saw a 20% drop in exports to the EU after they slapped tariffs on American whiskey. And that hit jobs in production, distribution, even marketing. It's not just the whiskey, it's the people behind it.
And now they're pushing for zero tariffs, yeah?
That's right. They're advocating for what's called a zero for zero tariff agreement. Basically, no taxes on alcohol at all to protect livelihoods here and abroad. They're saying tariffs don't solve the problem, they just shift the pain around.
Kind of like kicking the can down the road, huh?
It does feel like that. And on the flip side, exporters in Europe, take the French wine industry again, they're saying the same thing, that this is unsustainable. A 200% tariff on their products, it could easily wipe out their presence in the US completely.
It's like both sides are playing chicken, except the entire global market is sitting in the passenger seat.
Exactly, and when you think about it, this was never just about alcohol or steel tariffs, was it? Trade wars like this create instability across the entire global market. Consumer confidence wavers, businesses cut back, and economies teeter. Think of the ripple effects on industries that rely on international partnerships.
And this could have long-term consequences, right? Not just a temporary market hiccup?
Absolutely. Long term, you're looking at fractured trade relationships. Trust between trading partners takes years, even decades, to build. Once it's damaged, it's not easily repaired. And that instability, it discourages investment, productivity, and growth.
Okay, so what do you think? Are we looking at a new normal, or will things settle down eventually?
It's hard to say. These trade conflicts might settle over time, sure, but the scars they leave behind? They'll linger. Whether we're talking about businesses forced to shutter or the inflationary effects on global markets, it's a mess. But one thing is clear, cooperation, not conflict, is the only way forward.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of today's discussion.
We have. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. These trade wars may be complex, but understanding them is the first step toward navigating their consequences. Until next time, take care.
Bye for now.